Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I want to talk about how the hedgies are hiding shares and put options in GameStop and AMC overseas. Even Peter Hann, the portfolio manager, has been getting involved. Trust me guys, you do not want to miss this video. So stay tuned and let's make some money. But guys, before I dive into the video, I just want to give a massive shout out to the 3,100 of you that have currently dinged that notification bell, because you guys are always the first to watch a new video as soon as it's released. So guys, be sure to drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel and ding that notification bell if you haven't already, so that you don't miss another video just like this one. And now I want to dive straight in with the key information. So, I like this Peter Hann guy. He saw the Brazil due diligence drop. Peter Hann, the investment portfolio manager, said, "I find it very interesting. I heard months ago that the shorts were being moved overseas to segregate risk and hide exposure. With no documentation, it was just another story, likely but impossible to verify. And voila, months later, possible proof is found." This is ultimately why the squeeze has to happen. The retail movement has so many eyes looking at the hedge fund activities, every little trick will be exposed. And you can't gaslight retail investors anymore that they're on a fool's quest. So let's dive in and figure out exactly what's been going on. I've figured out the missing puts located in Brazil from Bloomberg Terminal Assets and Liabilities of commercial banks in the United States, H8, due today. They needed to hide the losses offshore to not be shown in the report. I suspect the same is happening for hedge funds who've shorted AMC. This is a report from the Federal Reserve which shows the total assets and liabilities for commercial banks in the United States. And if I zoom in, just here it shows the net unrealized gains or losses on available for sale securities held by those commercial banks. You can see this profit in billions of dollars has been rapidly decreasing since the first quarter of 2021. Obviously, the banks need to show that this isn't too horrendous and therefore have been hiding their securities and hiding their put options overseas. Banks need money to work. If assets means more money and liabilities means less money, assets minus liabilities gets you net money, as in what's left over. So if I have $5 in assets and if I owe $3 in liabilities, then 5 minus 3 is a net holdings of $2. Why this matters is that if net assets is too low, the banks can be unstable. In the event of a market crash, if they hold a lot of their assets in stocks, they can go negative and the bank has to close. If a bank has to close, that can trigger other banks to close and everything turns into a mess real fast. This graph here shows liabilities versus time. The bigger the slope upwards, the worse it is. As you can see, since around mid-2020, especially in the first quarter of 2021, liabilities have been rising rapidly. Assets and liabilities of commercial banks in the United States was due on Friday at 4:15 p.m. Earlier this week, we discovered puts that mysteriously showed up in a Bloomberg terminal screenshot, then disappeared the next day. Had these losses been kept in a secured financial institution within the United States, they would have needed to be declared in the report. This would have shown a massive loss for whatever institution was holding and would have been seen as a major liability for possibly multiple banks loaning out the credit to hedge funds. This here is a screenshot showing the number of put options held by individual institutions in GameStop. You can see here that Constancia Investments holds 720,000 put options and Capitolo Investments holds 397,900 put options. That's significantly higher than Susquehanna, Jane Street and Citadel that hold 61,000, 35,000 and 32,000 put options respectively. If you actually Google those companies, Constancia Investments and Capitolo, it takes you to 2 Brazilian websites. Now, something that is very interesting, remember that for each option you hold, it can be exercised into 100 shares. So with call options, you could exercise them and get 100 shares or buy 100 shares at a set price. And with put options, you could exercise them or sell 100 shares at a set price. So 720,000 put options could potentially equate to 720 million shares that could be sold. MarketWatch suggests that GameStop only has a public float of 62 million shares, and therefore put options for potentially 720 million shares is over 10 times the flow. These losses were moved to a bank in Brazil to not be exposed for the general public to see. They can then keep the losses in the bank in Brazil, possibly declaring bankruptcy overseas to not be risking their loans they have on hand within the US institution. Now, some of you might be wondering, oh my god, if they go bankrupt overseas, am I going to be able to sell my shares? Don't forget, if this bank does go bankrupt, then a receiver is appointed to purchase those shares. Therefore, those shares or those shorts still have to be closed. And guys, just a quick one, if you haven't already, I'd really consider joining the Patreon and becoming part of the team to get urgent updates about AMC before I even make a video, linked in the description below. Looking further into the document, a subnote states this: you can't get margin called if there's no margin requirement. This margin requirement was reduced down to 0% after the pandemic crash in March of 2020. Gary Gensler, SEC, DTCC, and SEC, we demand a fair and free market for all Americans. We demand answers and to have our voices heard. Retweet this, post this, whatever attention is needed to expose this corrupt manipulation that is being handed down to us through a financial system in which we once trusted and is now teetering on collapse because rules are not being enforced by some individuals is the most disheartening thing to see before my eyes and many, many others. So effectively, as a bit of a background, over 1 million put options in GameStop showed up a few days ago and then quickly disappeared the next day after it had been moved. This is just to hide how bad it's really getting for those hedge funds that have very large put option positions in GameStop and AMC that are still very heavily underwater. Yes, a lot of hedge funds have potentially been shorting since the $70 range and the $60 range, but don't forget a lot of hedge funds were shorting AMC back down at $8 and below. Something that I also think is very important to bring to your attention is that the US court ruled that SEC Whistleblower Protection extends to company shareholders. Shareholders should start exercising this newly appointed right. We, as shareholders, should be posting this sub's best due diligence as whistleblower complaints to the SEC. They are literally begging for it. As you can see here, the whistleblower protection policy has just been updated to include this bottom paragraph. Shareholders. If any shareholder of the business has any concern regarding any perceived or actual wrongdoing, including issues with corporate governance, they must notify the board of directors, trustees or members of their concern before taking any other action. Which we've definitely done by letting Aron know that there is massive corruption going on against the AMC stock. If the shareholder feels their concern has either not been properly addressed or is not addressed in a timely manner, they should notify the SEC. I also wanted to give you some updates on Aron, who recently tweeted saying August the 9th is our next quarterly earnings call. Will be a webcast so you can listen. For the first time ever, we will take questions from individual investors on the call. We've had some really smart questions in so far and fascinating suggestions too. I think this is a great idea to get AMC apes involved in the future direction of AMC. And it just shows that Aron is a brilliant CEO and has been listening to us this entire time. I also just wanted to quickly touch on his tweet from the other day, where he said that many of you continue to be concerned about the AMC share count. In early June, we announced an all-inclusive share count total of 513 million legally issued shares. Precisely 0 new shares have been issued by AMC since then. As to the existence of so-called fake or synthetic shares, or the naked short selling of AMC shares, we are unaware of any information validating these theories. Also, we are unable to make any comment on the considerable trading of put or call derivatives. Now, it may be very nitpicky and very specific, but he did say 513 million legally issued shares. What about all the legally created synthetic shares? And again, he says we're unaware of any information validating these claims or these theories, but he doesn't say we're not aware or there is no information to support these claims. Although this is very nitpicky, we do know that AMC can't say too much because of this announcement here. Note that at this time, to comply with US securities laws and on the advice of counsel, unfortunately we are unable to answer any questions pertaining to the trading and price volatility of our securities, including, but not limited to, the short selling of shares or derivatives on AMC stock. So therefore the SEC are currently investigating the short selling of AMC stock, and because of that, AMC and Aron can't say too much about it. And finally, as of today, August 1st, there have been 10 new recent Finra rule filings. So I'm going to be digesting these and hopefully making some videos about them over the next week. Guys, be sure to let me know down in the comments below what you think about hedgies potentially hiding put options in overseas companies. And if you want to pick up some shares in AMC, but you haven't even yet signed up to a trading platform yet, be sure to sign up with Fidelity, because they don't sell your order flow to market makers like Citadel, who route those orders through the dark pool. Basically, don't use Webull or Robinhood or TD Ameritrade because they do sell your order flow to Citadel. Although saying that, Webull are an excellent beginner investment platform. They've got great charting, they've got news, they've got option order flow, they've got company figures and fundamentals, they've got absolutely everything. So if you do want to buy some other stocks that aren't AMC, like Apple, Amazon, Netflix or Tesla, then be sure to sign up with Webull using my link in the description below to get some free shares. Or alternatively, if you're from the UK, be sure to sign up with Free Trade again using the link in the description below to get some free shares. And as always guys, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out some of my others. Alternatively, subscribe to the channel and ding that notification bell, because that way you'll be alerted when I upload a new video. Cheers!